And Quartzsite's a free-for-all. People say it's like Burning Man meets an RV show.
In some ways, I think you're actually safer down there.
This lifestyle is an adventure. It's so wild.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life.
RV Life Podcast.
Welcome back to the RV Life Podcast. This week, we're diving into one of the biggest gatherings that you might have heard about, Quartzsite. John has a great conversation for us all about the big show, as everyone calls it. The Quartzsite Sports Vacation and RV Show.
The big show indeed. If you've never heard about Quartzsite, you're probably not an RVer. And I think it's actually mandatory, written somewhere, that if you're a full-time RVer, you gotta go at least once. I remember our first trip to Quartzsite and all of the exciting gadgets. I was so overwhelmed by all the new rigs and what's going on under the tent. But what really struck me the most and what really stands out was the connections I made. I love the boondocking in the desert and the free camping and the sunsets and all the parties, the rallies, the gatherings, the get-togethers. Quartzsite's really about community.
And the flea market. You can't miss that.
But let's not get too sidetracked here. If Quartzsite isn't far south enough for you this winter, how about Mexico? Today we're going to hear from a long-term traveler to Mexico and share what you need to know about RVing south of the border. Spoiler alert, it's safer than you think.
Oh, yeah, it is. We're going to talk with our friend Paul, and he's going to share what it takes to RV through Mexico safely and have fun doing it. He has a lot of must-know tips for first-timers, so pay attention.
You know, speaking of Mexico, Renee, when I spent the winter in Alaska with you, you promised that we'd spend the following winter in Mexico, and here we are. Another winter's almost gone by.
I guess I owe you one. Let's go.
It's definitely still on my list, but hold on. We've got much more in store for you here. For our Working on the Road income segment, we meet a Hollywood actor who balances filming and entrepreneurship from her RV. Then Bob wraps things up with an important RV tech update that affects every future RV owner.
Alrighty, let's get things rolling here and kick it off with our RV travel segment with everything you need to know about Quartzsite.
Right, the big show. Every January, hundreds of thousands of RVers roll into Arizona desert for what many call the Super Bowl of RV shows.
John DiPietro is going to talk with Kimmy King. She's the woman who runs it all, the Quartzsite RV show, celebrating its 43rd year.
Hey, everybody, and welcome once again to the RV Life Podcast. And you know that when you talk about Super Bowls, granddaddies of them all, and big events in any category, if you're talking RVing, the big event, the big one, is Quartzsite. And with me today is I'm going to call you a director. I know you're much more than that. You're the chief cook, bottle washer. You direct traffic. You put the tent up. You direct the camels all around there and everything. Kimmy King, who is in charge of Quartzsite. And Kimmy, welcome to the RV Life Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here. And yes, I have many hats I wear, so I'll take director. That works for me.
That's the easiest one, huh?
Yeah, I'll take it.
With the least responsibility.
Yeah. Oh, I like to direct. I will tell people what to do. Don't worry.
Okay. And then there's times when you end up doing it yourself when there aren't others that do it. But, you know, when we met a few years ago when I was out there, one of the things that I noticed is that you are very down to earth, very focused, and very approachable to the attendees. In fact, I think I recall on opening day, you wanted to be right at the gate to welcome people there as they came in. Tell us a little bit about the show. I know your dad started it, but he really didn't start it as an RV show. He had a really kind of roundabout route to get to where Quartzsite is today.
Yeah. So my late father, Kimmy King, he was in the RV industry. He sold RV awnings for any awning system.
Yep.
And so he was actually he lived in Southern California, and he'd go to all the Surfside RV parks, I guess you could call them then too, and was kind of going literally door to door selling RV awnings. And someone mentioned Quartzsite to him, and he made his way out to Quartzsite, and he was actually at the show across the street from us, which is the Tyson Wells. And he started selling RV awnings there and essentially outgrew it by making his own show within the show and ended up getting kicked out. And him and my mom kind of put together this cool plan of, we have this Mecca, we have this small town, quiet town, lots of RVers, lots of snowbirds. What can we bring to Quartzsite that would be unique. And he thought, why not an RV show? And that was in 1983. And him and his late partner, Mal Mallory, which is the other founder of the Quartzsite RV show, sort of built this thing, right? They kind of melted it into what it needed to be each year to find its groove, which is sports, vacation, and RV. And then here we are almost 43 years later. And my husband and I are who run it now.
You know, I was trying to do the math. Thank you for saying 43 because I was going to have 42 down. But 4 to 3 years. I mean, when you go to the show, if you've been to another show, if you've been to Hershey or if you've been to Tampa or any other regional show that takes place throughout the country in January, February, March, this show is totally different. Totally different. Talk about what makes Quartzsite.
So it's Quartzsite is different in the fact that we are direct to the consumer. So we are a consumer-based RV show. So you're not going to see tens of 20s of dealerships or manufacturers there with all the new layouts. It's our own property that we own. It's only 17 acres and we only use the show grounds as about 4 acres. So we had a problem with not having enough manufacturers at one point or not having enough room for the manufacturers. So we are a direct to the consumer sports vacation, parts, accessory, home show. So if you are an RVer that loves to RV, or even is just what I call a weekend warrior who just likes to go out on the weekends with your family, and you're looking for the newest, latest, and greatest in RVing things, right? Under our Big Ten is where you'll find them. You know, we don't have all the room that we have for the manufacturers, but we do have RVs for sale. So we're a little bit of a combination of a show, and we're definitely not your typical RV show. We're in the middle of the desert. Most people come, they stay, they're there for sometimes days, weeks, months. You know, it's kind of a mecca of a diverse group of people that can join in Quartzsite, and they all find something for someone under the Big Ten.
Talk about the vibe of Quartzsite, because when it's not during showtime, it's what, 5, 7, 8,000 people?
3,500.
3,500 people.
So Quartzsite's tiny.
We're going from 3,500, to the heart of the season.
I would say the heart of the season, which is January. There's been so many numbers thrown out there, just based on being able to look at the BLM, I mean, there's got to be at least 250,000 to 500,000 people in Quartzsite, not necessarily coming to my show, right? So those numbers get a little bit skewed. People think that I have that many at my show. You know, there's people come to Quartzsite for the weather. They come to Quartzsite for the quietness. They come to Quartzsite for the BLM, to be alone. There's such a diverse group of people. So Quartzsite's only 3,500 when the season isn't going on. And then it blossoms during, November, December, January really being the heart of it, because there's a couple other shows going on in concurrence with my show. And then they stay all the way into March until, the snow melts back home or they're ready to go to the next place. But it's just this beautiful thing that happens where it's just all these people come together who maybe wouldn't normally mix, but they come together because they're the heart of the RVer. They love to RV and they love what Quartzsite brings to them.
Mm-hmm. I told you I might drift, and I'm drifting from the show to the neighborhood. But the show itself, buy tickets in advance. How do you get in?
We are free. We are probably the only free show still standing, I want to say, like in the world. We are free entry. We are free parking. My dad tried to charge $0.25 the first show in 1983, and it just did not go well. So he pulled the sign down and put a huge sign up that said free for all, and people came pouring in. I would have a much bigger house if I charged to get in. I'd have a lot of things. But I think Quartzsite is Quartzsite because you have that experience. You can go in and just experience it and not have to drop a dime, right? And you can be the person looking for something for 2-for-1 deal, or you can be the person looking to buy the $500,000 motorhome. And it's just kind of everybody comes to the show. There's parking. Quartzsite's a free-for-all. So there's no, it's not a big metropolitan area. We're not going to go, hey, hun, do you want to go down to Phoenix to pop in the Quartzsite RV show for 2 hours? People come, they camp, They bring family, they bring friends, they do the big rallies, the circles. So it's an experiential thing. I've always say Quartzsite is an experience. It's not just a let's drop in and say hi. It's something that you have to
Right.
come and you get to experience it all.
What are people going to see at the show? What are they going to see? I mean, I know we're going to get into seminars in just a minute, but you have some unique vendors there. I know the food people that you introduced me to were as unique as you could find, and
Yeah,
you sit at tables with people, and you have new friends.
yeah,
You
it's
know what I
very,
mean?
we try and make Quartzsite like a meeting space, right? Like a ground where we can break bread together, so to speak. We're not trying to have you go sit by yourself in a corner or feel unwelcome. We have all of our 8 major food vendors that all have tables and chairs out there that people come. We're gonna have live music playing all week at our barbecue vendor. It kind of just brings a fun vibe. Quartzsite isn't, it's different. It's like I've heard people say it's like Burning Man meets an RV
Right,
show,
right.
minus
It's true.
maybe the drug use.
It's true.
But, you get everyone. You have the nomad travelers, the people that are the travelers that are coming through that are just trying to make a dollar. Our crew that we hire every year is seasonal. We have our couple staple crew, but a lot of them are people that are just traveling the world trying to figure out where they fit in. And they find a place with us in Quartzsite. And that's the beauty of Quartzsite is you find your place there, no matter who you are, where you come from, you kind of find a place there. And you know, we are a little bit different that we have full-fledged RV service spots. So I know you said what you'd find in Quartzsite that's different than some other places. So we have Redlands RV Truck, we have Blue Ox, we have Roadmaster, and those are our staple guys that you can come in and you can get work done while you shop. You
Oh,
can make
right.
your
Yes,
appointment
that's right.
early.
Back there. Yeah.
You can go through and get your appointment in the tent, but you can get things done. You can get your rig worked on while you're there, and it's all on spot. Somebody doesn't have to come find you. You just come to us.
Yep. And you can learn too because our friends Tony and Peggy are your seminarians. That's probably not the right
Yes.
word. Not seminary. They're
They are our Peggy and Tony Barthel from Stressless Campers are really who make these seminars happen, these workshops and seminars that we have. It was My father had them back in the early 2000s. We had seminars, we had some live music. It was more of a stage presence, but we didn't have anyone to run the seminars besides my dad. If y'all don't know, we are a mom and pop shop. We are not a big RV
corporate.
FMCA or
Yep.
anything like that. It's just myself, my husband, and a seasonal crew. And so back when my dad was here, he didn't have anyone to run him. He couldn't be 8 places at once. So he had to phase them out. And then we decided, hey, like what if we could bring those back in? And I can't be 8 places at once. And so the Barthels run it for us, and we have heavy hitter lineups. We have people that are in our show. We have people that are content creators that are coming in to share what they do and share their knowledge and experience. Big Beard Batteries is who our sponsors are. And they have daily seminars, 2 a day, to talk about all the knowledge that they know. So it's just a very cool space. Again, free. There's no cost to
Yep.
get into the seminars. It's all
Seminars either.
educational. So it's a really neat part.
Right. You alluded to a little before a combination of Burning Man and whatever. I'd throw Woodstock in there somewhere
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well. But
Yes.
the thing is this, and I want to talk to you about repeat visitors because I just thought of that question that I forgot when I went on to the next question. But it's really a little bit of everybody. I mean, you'll see the people that Gillette razors are not their friend, but yet you'll see well-heeled people in their Prevosts
Yes.
pulling
It's
into park.
Yeah, it's a
Every every different
convergence.
demo imaginable.
It is. And I think that for so long, before maybe 10, 20 years prior to me coming in the show, it was definitely the snowbird, a little bit older crowd, the big motorhomes, the full hookups, and there's been this surgence of maybe a bit of a younger crowd or a bit of more smaller units, more mobile, more self-contained off the grid. And that's another thing that brings Quartzsite different than you'd see in Tampa or Hershey. I'm learning that Tampa is very RV park based. And so if you're an RV company or anybody coming in the show and wants to get demographic information, we have such a different demographic. You can walk out to the BLM land. I mean, mind you, you're going to be walking, but you can interview all these people that have such a different lifestyle than you would find in the bigger cities. You know, we have tens of thousands of BLM land that are right next to our RV show. And so people go there and they, it's most of it's self-contained. You have to dump your own tanks if you're not self-contained. You have to dump your own trash, you have to fill up your water. So it's just a different type of demographic than you would really see. That's not to say we don't have full hookups. I mean, we
Yeah.
have over 40 RV parks in Quartzsite and those get very much used, but it shows the diversity of Quartzsite and who comes and the things that you can do. You can try and go off the grid for a week and no, I'm not for that. Let's go over to, the next town over and let's get some full hookups. So
Mhm.
it's neat.
What would you say the percentage of return visitors is that you've had, since you've been running the show? I'm sure I saw a lot of people come up to you and give you a hug and that type thing, but
I say it's a lot because I love, as you mentioned in the beginning of the show, is my dad always liked to sit at what we call the North Gate and watch everybody come
the
in. That is
North
our
Gate, and
busiest
that's where
gate.
we were, the North Gate.
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's where it's our busiest gate, and I have gotten now into the habit of actually getting on either a social media platform or just videotaping and going through and asking people, where they're from, how long they've been coming to the show, if they're new. And honestly, in the last, I want to say like 5 or 6 years, it's been an upheaval of new faces. We do have the returners who have been coming for years. I have one gentleman who comes every year and says hi to me, and I think this will be his 30th year. His name's Keith. And he always says hello and how much he loves to come to Quartzsite. But you have this new surgence of younger families that we definitely see on the weekends. And now that kids can learn from home and you can work
Yep.
from home because of beautiful platforms like Zoom, you have more flexibility to be on the road. And so you really see that dynamic changing in the attendance at Quartzsite.
Yep.
So
Both
it's been
demographic and,
pretty
and
cool.
where they're coming from.
And where
The,
they're coming from.
when I forgot to mention, I made my cardinal error in introducing you, assuming that everybody knows where Quartzsite is, but not everybody does. Give us
No.
give us some parameters as to where we are. I mean, we're in
So
Arizona.
so Quartzsite is in Arizona, and we are it's a very tiny little town, and we're about 22 miles away from the California Arizona border. So we're
Yep.
definitely more on the west side of Arizona. Your biggest town or city is going to be Yuma or Phoenix. So to put it in perspective, Quartzsite has two small little grocery stores. It's the Roadrunner and I'm blanking on the other one, the Roadrunner and the Coyote Fresh. So Roadrunner and the Coyote, and they're small little mom and pop shops, and that's where people shop. So if you really want to go to there's no Starbucks, there's no Marshalls, there's no
No
Target,
Walmart.
there's no like you have to drive. And coming from a girl who lives in Southern California, it's a change in pace. It's a beautiful change in pace. It's a slowdown. It's a town that really enjoys their peace and quiet. But they do really welcome us, with open arms to bring in this revenue to this small town for the winter months.
Any new features this year that people should be looking for when they get ready to go?
So the seminars are packed up. We are doing a content creator meet and greet this year. The Barthels are hosting it for me, and we're going to have live music by the Border Hookups, and then our barbecue vendor is going to graciously donate food for us, and we're going to have content creators who are in the area who want to meet each other. Public are welcome, and then we're actually bringing in our vendors to see if we can maybe have some business relationships made between the content creators and
Uh,
the vendors, because the way that marketing is happening through social media is such an outlet that I think they could take advantage of to make some, business relationships. So that'll be a fun one to see how that goes this year.
and my other cardinal sin that I committed is I never even asked you the dates.
I was going to say I should have. Oh, I'm a cardinal
The
sin
da-
as a show promoter, as I haven't been
We're,
saying it
we're,
every two
we're,
minutes.
we're going this. We're doing this interview in reverse.
So
But
the
the date
43rd annual Courtside RV show is January 17th to the 25th of 2026. We open on a Saturday, and
closed
we
the
are open
following Sunday.
and we close the following Sunday. We're bankers hours, 9 to 5. We close on closing day at 3 o'clock. So it's if you're not one for crowds, don't come the first 4 days. Just avoid it. Come
Come during
during
the week.
during the week
Yep.
because it's a little quieter. You can be a little bit more one-on-one. You can see more. If you love to be in crowds and like cattle herding cattle through the tent, then opening weekend's your jam. We'll have some live music. There'll be food. We're right next to, like I said, the Be a Lamb Lamb, which has an Arizona Peace Trail. So we have off-road, so many off-road routes that
Oh
people
yeah,
love
yeah.
to come out there. So the amount of people that I see getting out of side by sides and Polarises that are the age 50 and over is amazing. Like I had no idea the demographic that actually pertains to. And so that's a really cool thing to see in Quartzsite as
Yeah.
well.
And when they get out of those things, they're holding their back. They're holding their
Like, let me
back.
just, oh, and I forgot to mention Beer Bellies, the adult daycare. So after you come and shop at our show,
That's
you
right.
can go to the adult daycare, which is the local bar. It's called Beer
Yeah.
Bellies. They're fabulous.
Right,
And they
right,
have
right by the
right
north
in the
gate.
middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool. We have our show across the street from us. Kim Scott is the promoter over there. It's called the Tyson Wells Cellarama, runs concurrently with my show. So you come to one of the shows, grab a cold beer, watch some live music, and then you come over to the other show and shop. And most people stay for days. Quartzsite you can't do in one
Yeah.
shot. You're there
Yeah.
for a couple days.
Yeah, yeah. Although it is feasible if you're an adventurous person to fly into, this is what I had to do a couple of years ago because of time constraints. I flew into Phoenix, rented a car, came down, found a hotel, I think in Parker,
Hmm.
or somewhere around there, and was able to do the show for a couple of days. But even if you don't have an RV and want to see what the RV lifestyle is,
Oh yeah.
Quartzsite is the place to really get a baptism under fire to
Yeah, you
find
get a
out what
firsthand view. You
what
really
it
can. There's
is.
plenty of hotels, motels. Even Quartzsite's starting to have Airbnbs, which is a new thing
Oh,
for
really?
them.
Okay.
I think there may be like a Uber in town, but
It's fun.
yeah, they're starting to slowly creep up with the times. So it's really fun to see it all change and grow and be a part of it.
Yeah, and we know you have a yacht club too in the middle of the desert.
We do, we do. You can find the yacht club. You can be an honorary member. I have a hat and a t-shirt, and you can be a member.
So, website, Kimmy.
QuartzsiteRVshow.com is where you'll find all the information. You'll find all of our seminar schedules, our content creator meet and greet. You can find out about our service bays, hotels, motels, all the things. Our Facebook page is going to be another great resource to find anything that's new and upcoming or any announcements.
There we go. The Quartzsite RV. No, but that's not the real name. Give me the official name.
So it's the Quartzsite Sports Vacation and RV Show.
Okay.
And we are proudly sponsored by Progressive Insurance, and we're just really grateful to have this opportunity. And we look forward to seeing everybody on January 17th, 2026 on opening day.
There we go. The Quartzsite Show with our friend Kimmy King. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Is the RV Life Podcast.
I love how Kimmy took us behind the scenes at Quartzsite. 500,000 RVers, live music, RVing seminars, and a yacht club in the desert. Let's go.
Let's go indeed. Get all the details and dates for the 2026 show in our show notes on the episodes page at podcast.rvlife.com.
From the Arizona desert Southwest, it only makes sense to keep driving south of the border. So our next guest knows how to do it better than most travel guides.
Paul Beddows has led RV caravans all across Mexico. So let's find out what it takes to explore safely and confidently. Paul, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hey, Paul, it's nice to chat with you again. I consider you a huge expert on Mexico RV travel, so it's really an honor to have you here for our discussion about this in today's episode.
Okay. Speaking modestly, I guess I am sort of an expert.
Do tell our
Yeah.
listeners about how you got into it and what you've done all these years by traveling.
Well, I started traveling to Mexico on my own, I guess about, must be 15 years ago now in my RV. And I set up a website to kind of provide information for people. And that attracted the attention of a guy named Gabriel Romero, who is a tour guide down there, and he was doing contract work for various RV caravan companies, and he wanted to set up his own. So he asked me if I'd help him, and I said, no, I don't want to help you. I don't like caravans. They use up all the RV spots for me and everything else. Then about 1 year later is when the drug stuff really started badly, and I'd made friends with a few campground owners, and they were really suffering. So when he approached me the next time, I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it, as long as you use this campsite and that campsite, or run by friends of mine."
Neat.
So he said, "Yeah, no problem." So we actually saved a couple of campgrounds from going under in the process. So that's how it started. And then I'd already led caravans in North America. I'd done it for an RV club before, so
Okay.
I had some experience in it. And then I started leading them down there, and I took over his website, and it sort of went on and on and on. And now I'm trapped. I can't quit because he's a good friend of mine. If I quit, it'll leave him in a bind. So I'm still doing it. I'm not
Fantastic.
leading caravans anymore myself. I had a very bad RV accident in British
no.
Columbia about 5 years ago, and I'm not
Oh,
really
no.
comfortable driving an RV much anymore. I've done it, but I'm not really comfortable at it. And so I'm basically to the point where I'm flying into Mexico and renting, and I've done that now for about 2 or 3 years.
So when was the highlight of this journey of yours, leading people into Mexico? When did it begin, and when, about how many trips have you made?
I started doing it I'd say about 10 years ago, and I've probably led about 7 or 8 trips in Mexico. The only place I haven't led one is through Baja, but I've done the rest of Mexico, all through the northern part, down through the Yucatan, Chiapas, places like that. So I've pretty well driven. I've driven a heck of a lot more of Mexico than I have in the United States or Canada, actually.
So you probably know, how has RVing in Mexico changed since you first began, or has it?
It hasn't really changed. That the RV parks down there come and go. Some close down, new ones open up. The highways, the roads are still pretty bad. They are building an awful lot of toll highways in Mexico over the last few years, and some of those are pretty good. There's a lot of them are better than California, but some of them are god awful still too. So, and they're expensive. I mean, I'm not going to kid anyone. They're probably the most expensive toll highways in the world.
Wow.
But you don't have speed bumps all over the place, and they're safer. And they get you there faster. You're not stuck behind some sugarcane truck doing, 30 kilometers an hour for 3 hours, that sort of thing. So there's some big advantages to using the toll roads for sure, especially with an RV, especially if you have a large rig.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's two things that I think of, because this is always what gets talked about whenever the discussion of RVing in Mexico comes up. It's the roads and the drug problem. And I'd like you to tell our listeners more about what your experience has been with those two things.
Well, I've never seen a cartel or run into one. I know we're down there. The town I live in the wintertime, which is on the coast just north of Manzanillo, I'm pretty sure that the cartel is around that area. In fact, I think they protect the tourists in the town. Because there have been a couple of instances where there's been some bad people who have suddenly disappeared that have bothered tourists. So it's kind of, it's a bit of a protection racket in some ways. But on the other hand, they realize the town depends on tourists. And, if nothing else, they're patriotic. I've never had any problems with them. I bought a car down there, actually. And
Wow.
I didn't realize at the time when you buy a car in Mexico, you're responsible for the unpaid taxes or unpaid fines, everything else of the previous owner. So when I went to register it, all of a sudden I got nailed for like $600 extra. And I told that story to the lady who was teaching me Spanish, and she said, "Oh, do you want my friends to go pay the person a visit?" And I said, "Who?" He says, "Oh, the cartel." I said, "No, I don't want to go there." So I know they're around. I don't. If you're a tourist, as long as you stay away from drugs or people that do them, and you don't go bar hopping at 3 a.m. in the morning and stupid stuff like that, you're probably never going to have any issues, unless you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. But that can happen anywhere.
That is
The
very
thing you got to
true.
remember about Mexico is that violence down there tends to be targeted. Whereas in the United States and even Canada, it tends to be random. So you can avoid being a target. It's pretty hard to avoid being a victim of somebody that walks into a Walmart and starts shooting. So in some ways, I think you're actually safer down there.
Interesting. I've heard that you're not going to find trouble unless you go looking for it.
Exactly. I mean, I have a relative who lives down there, and he took me to a bar one night outside of Puerto Vallarta. We drove out to the countryside, and I mean, as soon as I walked in there, I knew it was a cartel bar. They just gave me the most evil look. As soon as they realized I was with him, I was fine. But I just said to him, I said, Ken, you're nuts. How do you know somebody's not going to come in here and start shooting, And then he started going out with the girlfriend, well, actually the ex-wife of a cartel leader. So he's still alive, though.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Well, a lot of RVers think of going to Mexico for winter. And I want to know, because this is something I've always wanted to do, what makes it a different experience in winter than going there any other time?
Difference. It really is.
Really?
If you go to the United States or you go to Canada, you don't even know which country you're in half the time because everything's pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. Down there, everything's so much different. The culture is just really special. I really enjoy it. And, the more Spanish you learn, the better time you have as well.
Yeah. How would you rate your Spanish skills?
My Spanish? It's intermediate. It gets better every year.
So in 10 years, you picked up a lot then.
Yeah, I try. We had a couple immigrate from Colombia that lived with us for a while, so I picked a lot up from them. And,
nice.
I really try to use Spanish as much as I can while I'm down there.
It makes sense. I think you get a lot more respect that way, and you also might get better deals on things if you know the language.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, but is it necessary to speak the native languages on there, or can you get by?
If you speak English, you can get by quite nicely. The people that have a lot of trouble are French Canadians, because even though French and Spanish are a lot closer than English and Spanish, hardly anybody down there speaks French.
Interesting.
So but nearly everybody, they speak English. They want to learn English because it's a ticket to a better job in a lot of cases, right?
Sure. So speaking of RVers, what type of RVer is kind of best suited for the adventure to Mexico? Do you need to be the adventurous type, or why would you go?
But if you're going to do it on your own, for sure. I'm helping run caravans, and for somebody who's not the adventurous type or is nervous, it's certainly not a bad idea to do that the first time. But we found a lot of people that take a caravan the first time end up going down on their own later on. In fact, a lot of them do. Sometimes they make friends and go down with someone else. And once you get past all the hassles with the paperwork and learn the ropes, it's not too bad. But it is different. It's a lot different to dealing with the insurance, for example. If you're in an accident down there, it can be a bit of a headache.
Sure.
And I got a Mexican car now, and I was in an accident in middle of November last year. I got rear-ended at a red light. Very nice, the insurance agents, the police, nobody gave me any fault for it. But they insisted I take it to the Nissan dealer in Manzanillo. And when I did that, I asked them how long it was going to take. And they said, 2 or 3 months, to get it fixed. So, it happened in November. I got it fixed in March. It was drivable just. But, don't expect things to happen fast down there because they don't.
But it sounds like a caravan might be a smart way to go if you've never even considered it before. But what can someone expect in a caravan aside from going alone? What do you mention? Insurance. What are some other benefits of going with a caravan versus going solo?
Basically, really the big advantage is knowing where you're going. The wagon master theoretically should know where it's safe to take an RV. I went down on my own the first time. I'm that sort of person. I never even thought of going in a caravan. But things like ending up on one-way streets where you have to back a trailer or a fifth wheel down a one-way street, for 4 blocks because it turns into a dead end or there's a low balcony overhead. That sort of thing can really throw you. And it's definitely safer because you're in a group. Your chance of having an accident is a lot less. If you're going to have an accident, chances are it's with someone else that's in the caravan.
Oh, wow.
So, and the main thing is having someone that's leading it who knows where they're going and where the low trees are and the archways and, everything else that can be a real hassle for your RV or a danger to your RV, physically speaking.
Yeah. That makes sense. You mentioned a couple of different types of RVs. What rigs are best suited for the travel on these roads or the trip to Mexico and back?
I've come to the conclusion you're best off with a Class C or a Class B. I've got a Class C right now, and I've taken it down twice. That was since my accident, and that kind of convinced me that, hey, my RVing days are almost finished because I was not comfortable with it to start. I really wasn't. But I've had towed a trailer down there. I've had a truck and a camper. The truck and the camper was the best, but that can cause you some issues with getting it into the country. They don't know how to classify it, and there's some hassles like that.
Oh, really?
But, a fifth wheel, if you're trying to tow a 40-foot fifth wheel with a triple axle behind you, you're going to have issues because the RV parks down there don't have the same sort of infrastructure you're going to find in Canada or the US for sure. It could be difficult to get in there to park it, and getting most services, RV services and campgrounds in Mexico, they haven't really thought out where they're going to put them. So chances are it's going to be at the very back of the campsite. So you're going to need to strap two or three sewer hoses together to get to the sewer, that sort of thing. So the longer RV you have, the more headache it is.
Sure.
What is the ideal length, you would say, for an RV?
I would say, if you're talking about a Class A, I would probably say you don't want to go much over 36 feet.
Okay.
A trailer, maybe 25 foot, something like that, 28 foot tops. I've got a 28 foot Class C right now. It's a rental return. And it's a little long, but it's adequate. I've managed okay. I mean, the truck and camper was great, but that has some disadvantages too, because you can't use the truck without taking it off and all that sort of thing, So I don't usually advise people tow a car behind them down there because it really adds to the cost of your tolls and your fuel and your insurance and everything else. Unless you're going to go to one place and stay there for 3 months, then it makes sense.
You briefly mentioned accommodations. Can people expect the same amount or distribution of campgrounds and places to
there
go?
Are quite a few campgrounds down there, but most of them are not up to what I would call American standards.
Okay.
There are a few of them. I know about 3 of them that actually have 50 amp hookups, but that's pretty rare. And you've almost got to treat it like you're camping in the 1950s. Most of the campgrounds will have a 15 amp hookup. Sometimes there's only a common water supply and a common sewer, that sort of thing. So it's a lot more inconvenient. So, you got to, don't go down there expecting 1,000 trails because you're not going to find it.
So you won't find this network of KOAs and 1,000 trails, but it sounds like if you go with an open mind and a sense of adventure, you really do get to experience Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Go with a sense of adventure and you'll have a great time. But if you're going to be inconvenienced because you can't get a 50 amp hookup or a 30 amp hookup, then you're going to be disappointed. That also brings up another fact down there is the electricity is not reliable. So you really want to protect your electrical system. I mean, the easiest way to do it is to get an EMS power protector. But what a lot of people do is they buy a voltage regulator. And you can buy those in Mexico. They're kind of like the Hughes Autoformer, but the Hughes Autoformer only corrects low voltage. It doesn't correct high voltage. In Mexico, you'll find both. So, you can source ones in Mexico that'll correct both of them. And the advantage of that is, too, when you go back into the United States, a lot of campgrounds, RV parks won't let you use the Hughes Autoformer, but they don't know what this is, so you can get away with it, And
we'll try to find a link to that in the show notes.
Sure,
that's something I hadn't heard about.
Yeah, the best one is called the ISB Solar Basic, SOLA Basic 4000. It's a 30 amp one.
Okay,
and it'll correct up to 20% either way.
Wow.
And it fits nicely into a milk crate. And what I did, if I don't have the storage, or I tell people to do if they don't have the storage room, is just throw it in the door when you're on the road and push it up underneath so it's not in the rain when you camped. It was very difficult to get last year because they had a part shortage. They're starting to become available again now. They're about $300 US, and you got to do some wiring yourself. So there's a little bit of a hassle with that. There's another one out there called a Kleinstadt or something like that, which is 20 amp, and you don't have to wire that one. But I haven't found anybody yet that's tried it to see how it works. And that's available on Amazon Mexico.
Okay. Well, that sounds like an important tip for anyone preparing to go and want to protect their equipment there. But what about the water? Everyone hears nightmares about the water. Is a good filtration system necessary?
There are campgrounds that have water that's potable. But I mean, the trouble is people say, "Oh, it's potable," so they fill your tank, and they forget they already have contaminated water in there. And It doesn't matter, if there's an ounce of bacteria, to 40 gallons, after a couple of days, that bacteria is going to be through the entire tank. So I never trust it. I mean, basically, I use bottled water. I fill my tank with Mexican water. I run it through one of those blue filters you can buy at Camping World, just to keep the sediment out. And maybe it sanitizes it enough so if you forget and brush your teeth, it won't make you sick. But I use bottled water for everything else, and I just use the water in the tank for showering and washing dishes. And then when I get back into the United States, I put a good dose of chlorine in there and let it slosh around while I'm driving and drain it a couple of times to sanitize it, and then you're good to go. But you can buy the big 5-gallon bottles of water anywhere in Mexico. All the gas stations in Mexico usually have a convenience store attached to them. And you can do an exchange there, or you can just take it outside, bring you bring a funnel and just transfer the new one into the old bottle. You want to look for one with a screw top cap, of course. And if you've got a pickup truck, it's no big deal to throw it in the pickup truck. I've seen people carry it in their showers, but that's actually not a good idea because if you hit a bad bump, you could crack your shower pan. So, but it's so cheap, you can actually pour it out and fill it up when you get where you're going. And most RV parks, you'll find the water truck comes around.
Oh.
So
see, you have so many of these fascinating tips that I haven't seen in other places.
Well, it works the same with propane too, because you can't just stop at a gas station and top up with propane like you can in the United States or Canada. The propane dispensaries are usually separate. They're on the outskirts of towns. You'll see them. The big one is Global Gas is the most popular one. Some of them can handle the onboard tanks. Some of them can just handle the portable tanks, or some of them handle both. But once again, you'll find if you're in a larger RV park, they will bring the truck around and fill you up. You can go talk to the RV park owner, and if there's 3 or 4 people in there that need it, the truck will come in and do it. So it's really not a problem. The only thing you got to be careful of is if you go into southern Mexico, you're getting butane, not propane.
Oh,
which is okay, except it'll freeze if you take it home. So you want to make sure you've gone back to propane before you get back into the United States. Unless you're in the middle of summer or something, then it's not an issue.
Right.
Are gas and diesel equally accessible, or is one more popular?
Yeah. Actually, they're more accessible than they are in the United States.
Really?
The only difference is the pumps are reversed in color.
Good tip.
So
wait a minute, I thought Canada had reversed color when we were up there.
Actually, in Canada you'll see diesels quite often yellow.
Yes.
But in Mexico you'll find gas is green and diesel is black.
Oh,
very important tip.
Now the only saving grace, the only good thing about it is nearly every single gas station has them on separate islands.
Okay. So you just have to know which island to go to.
It's not a bad idea to get a locking gas cap because, if you don't pump your own gas in Mexico, right?
Okay.
So you don't want to pull up to the gas station and you accidentally go into the wrong one and the attendants there are already pumping fuel into your tank before you get out.
Mm-hmm.
And you also want to make sure they've zeroed the pump too before they start pumping.
Lots of good tips here.
Yeah, if you don't have a locking flap on your gas supply, you want to put a locking gas cap on them.
These are things I hadn't heard about. This is so fascinating.
Well, the biggest trick at gas stations, and it still happens, and I got caught by it 2 years ago, even though I was watching for it, is in Mexico, right now, the 20 peso note and the 500 peso note are both blue in color. And some of these attendants, they should be on stage, literally. You'll give them a 500 and all of a sudden it's a 20 in their hand. And like I said, this one gas station, I was actually watching for it and he did it to me and I didn't see him do it. And I was actually sitting there really watching closely. So I'm in the habit now of trying to pay for fuel only with 200 peso notes because they're green. They're the only ones that are green. You learn how to count in Spanish in 200s, 200, 400, 600, go up to a couple of thousand and hand them to the guy one at a time. And then you won't have that issue.
Smart.
Well, what about electronic payments? Do you get to do that at gas stations or is it still in cash?
They do take credit cards now.
Okay.
They started doing that about 3 or 4 years ago. Once again, you got to be careful. I always keep the receipt. I was leading a caravan and one customer got billed for the semi that was filling up next to her when it came through on her credit card. And fortunately, she had the receipt, so the credit card hadn't covered it.
Wow.
But sometimes it's an honest mistake, and there's a few tricksters out there too that'll tell you the machine is broken or something like this, so you do have to be careful of it. Make sure you get a receipt. If the machine's broken, get them to write out a receipt.
There you go.
And it's not necessarily a cartel that might be giving you trouble. It might be the smaller players out there.
Just a guy. I mean the gas station attendants, they pay them really crappy, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I always tip them. I tip them like 50 pesos or, which is
another
like
good tip.
$3 or something like this. And the more gringos that do that, the less chance of, that they're going to try and cheat people, So you try and be friendly to them and give them a tip. And they really appreciate it.
Oh, that is so nice, Paul. So, one of the things I really like about your travel style is that you've led caravans into some of the lesser explored areas of the country. And, I've always thought Baja was just California light. It has never really appealed to me to go there.
Is California light.
So
we're running caravans. We're running caravans down Baja and the mainland, and Baja is the most popular. There's no doubt about it. We have no trouble filling caravans to Baja. I don't know why that is. People seem to think it's safer, I guess. I don't know. You don't need the vehicle permits, which is the one advantage.
Okay.
But the mainland, in my opinion, is a lot more interesting.
And that, would you say, like, for a new person to RVing in Mexico, that the mainland would be your first choice to take them to?
Most people do the Baja first. Like you say, it's Baja light. You don't, especially if you got a pickup truck that's like a 3/4 or a 1 ton. You don't have to sit there and deal with the permit headaches that they can give you and that sort of thing. So it is easier. But it's all desert pretty well. If you like beaches, the Baja is better. If you just want to go there and sit on a beach, it's great. But I mean, most of the interesting archaeological sites and places like that are on the mainland. One advantage of the company I'm working for is it's Mexican based. So the owner is a Mexican tour guide as well. He's been one for years. So he knows places to take people that they would never, ever dream of going on their own or on an organized tour, like remote ruins on the Guatemalan border, that sort of thing,
Oh, that sounds fun.
So there are some advantages of a caravan in that way. You're going to get to places, and they don't have big parking lots for RVs like they have. It's not like going to Mount Rushmore, right? You've very well got to go to a campground and rent a taxi if you want to go to some of these places, because you're not going to find parking for your RV. So, it is definitely a little different.
Paul, you've provided some excellent tips here, and I wonder, for the person out there who's just considering it, never been down there, what should someone ask themselves before looking into this? And then what are the best resources to go find out more?
To tell you the truth, it's really hard to say. The first thing you want to do is figure out where you're going to cross. And most people, I would say the majority of people cross either at Laredo. And if you're crossing at Laredo, you want to use Columbia Bridge. Do not use downtown Laredo. And the other option is Nogales. And in Nogales, you want to use the Mariposa truck crossing. Do not use the downtown one in that case. And if you're going to Baja, your best crossing is Tecate.
Good to know. I didn't even know there was going to be that big of a difference between where you go over. And as far as
you want to look and see where the closest campground is too after you cross, because you're going to get held up at the border with all the paperwork and everything else. So you want to make sure that you're in range of a campground, by crossing.
That is
some
smart.
of the lesser Texas crossings, you have to go an awful long way to get to an RV park,
Oh, that is smart. Are there any groups that you would recommend talking to other than the caravan group that you work with? Like, what about online, any Facebook groups, discussion forums?
We run a Facebook group called RV Mexico.
Okay.
And it's owned by the caravan company, but we're not there to sell caravans. A lot of independent people travelers go on there for information too. And we have no problem with that. So that's probably your best resource. And the other good resource is a site called On the Road in Mexico. Mm-hmm. That's run by a guy there's two of them out there. The one you want is one that's run by Bill Bell. It says right on the site that it's operated by Bill Bell. And that's a really good one as well, especially for people that are driving with cars.
Okay.
Not necessarily
great.
RVs.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people go over in their vans or just a regular vehicle.
Well, you've provided so many tips here and some great resources we're going to add to the show notes here. So, Paul, any final words for people considering RVing to Mexico?
No, just make sure you have all your paperwork. You know, the big thing is to make sure you have all your vehicle paperwork, and that means your registration or your title or both. You know, some jurisdictions they keep the title, so you may only have the registration. And make sure you have copies of everything: your passport page, your credit card, the titles. You know, like make 2 copies of everything, even if you think you don't need them. And the other tip I would give you, if you're crossing with a pickup truck towing a trailer or a fifth wheel, is take a photo of the truck hooked up to the trailer or fifth wheel and print it out on a full sheet of paper. You'll probably find you have a little less hassle bringing it across, because there's an issue with 3/4 and 1-ton trucks. And without going into it deeply, it's actually a misunderstanding between SAT, who sets the regulations, and Banner C2, who issues the permits. And people with the heavier pickup trucks, to be quite honest, you may find you have to pay a bribe.
Okay,
to get it in.
Good to know. I've learned so much from you today. Thank you.
Yeah. If you're in a motorhome, there's no problem at all. You know, it could be a tank, you know, they don't give you any headaches with it.
And finally, the name of the caravan expedition group that you work with is?
Caravanas de Mexico, which is mexicocaravans.com is the website. And actually, they're mentioning that particular website. There is a lot of information on there that's useful to independent travelers as well as people going for a caravan. And if you go to any page on that site and look at the black bar at the bottom of it, I think there's a thing there that says other websites or other sites or something like that. If you click that, there's a whole list of stuff there, like information about crossing the border. There's a fuel conversion chart there, and all sorts of things like that are have nothing to do with caravans per se.
All right.
So you can get a lot of useful information off it.
Oh, nice to know. I like it. One-stop shopping. Well, thank you so much, Paul.
The thing is, we're trying to get people to go down there. We don't. If we sell them a caravan, all the better. But you know what? We try and help independent travelers as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you've been very helpful to the RV Life community. Thank you so much. We hope you have a great season.
Yeah.
Wow, I learned so much from Paul. Mexico by RV is definitely back on my bucket list.
Just remember, cash and small bills, lots of bottled water, and watch out for those crafty gas station attendants.
Oh yeah, those are good tips. All right, now let's switch gears to our latest RV entrepreneur profile with Rose and Glynn. They're talking with a working actor who's figured out how to keep the cameras rolling while living on the road.
Meet Cara Ann Marie, a.k.a. the RV actress.
Hi, Cara. Welcome to the RV Life podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on today. You have such a fun and unique story. So why don't you just fill us in a little bit? Tell us a little about yourself and what you do.
Sure. Well, I'm an actress. I started performing at a really young age, and I started out in musical theater. So I lived in New York City, and I traveled a ton during that time of my life, doing tours, cruise gigs, regional theater. I mean, I was always traveling. And then eventually I kind of moved into more on-camera work. So now I'm pretty much exclusively working a lot on Netflix. I've done 3 different Netflix shows, Cobra Kai being the most prevalent of those. I was also in Detroiters, which is a great show, and Florida Man, and I have a number of different credits. That's kind of what I do. I also co-own a eco-friendly pet company with my husband. We started that in 2025 called Doggy Do Good. And that all came because before we started RV Life, I rescued a senior dog, and she came with a lot of health issues. And we kind of just realized there was a lot of dogs in a lot of dogs in rescues, a lot of senior dogs in rescues, and we wanted to do something in combination together. We wanted to work together, and we wanted to build something that we felt really good about, that was giving back, and we love dogs. We sat down and really just spitballed about what could we be doing, and that's kind of what we're doing. And now we're doing it from an RV. We're doing all this stuff from an RV.
That is awesome. And you're doing it part-time, right? You have a home
Yes.
base. Yeah.
Yep. Though I can feel us getting more and more full-time. I know that there will be some years for sure coming up, especially we have a almost 5-year-old, especially in these little years. I think, I mean, I can't tell what's going to be more interesting. The older years being on the road with him because of the educational value, or the younger years. But right now we're really in the mix of it. So I know we're only getting more into it, which is a funny thing. I couldn't tell if we would love it or not, and we're only getting more and more deep into the community and the lifestyle. I mean, we love it.
Yeah, I would say get into it now. We started when our kids were a little bit, well, they were 7 and 10, right? But for us, I feel like maybe we should have started a little earlier with them.
We got our first RV when he was 3 months. I mean, a lot of it was the world too. The pandemic was going on. We had a new baby, which I think everyone's going to respond to that differently. We responded by not wanting to feel homebound. We didn't want to be stuck in this one house. We wanted to keep moving. And I attribute a lot of our ability to live the way that we do to he's a very go with the flow, resilient. He loves getting back in the RV. And we do, even though we are part-timing right now, I would say 6 to 8 months, we're full-time. So we will leave all winter. Like this winter, we're just a week away from getting it down to Florida. And then we'll come back up for the holidays, and then we'll go back, spend some time down there. We're actually going to spend a month in Austin because we really fell in love with Austin last year. We did a month there last year, and then we'll make our way to the West Coast, and we'll be pretty much on the West Coast for the rest of the winter.
Fun. Well, let's dive right into what you're doing on the road when you're
Sure.
in your RV, and you are the RV actress. You're in your RV. How, what inspired you to take that on the road?
During the pandemic, all of our auditions switched from in person to self-taping.
There it is.
Which is wonderful. Now, things are starting to readjust again, but I still think that initial audition will remain self-taped. It's just everyone realized everyone's busy, even if they're not traveling. You're working with actors that might be working on another show and you want them on your show. Like, you don't need them to roll into your agency in LA. And if they can't, then they're totally eliminated. Like, I think, or maybe you're looking at someone that lives in London. Like, this just opened up. Casting is able now to see everyone from wherever they're interested in submitting to. So right now, how it works, and I actually have an audition that I'm working on right now that we'll tape on Sunday while we're doing this Halloween camping trip. But I just get it. I open up my email. I get an email from my agent with the project, with the deadline, with the script that I need to record. And we have a self-tape set up in the RV, which I did make a little reel on my social media to show people kind of how we juggle that in the RV. And it really works. The only thing that I would say, and it's so crazy, even when you think things are maybe the not ideal circumstances, I did just get like on hold for a movie, and it was such a quick turnaround or something. And we were actually driving. My husband was driving the RV while I was trying to edit the audition. And then and it was bouncy. And I'm like, I can't even tell. I hope they can hear. I mean, it was such chaos, but at the same time, it just was, if I wanted to do it, it was like we were moving. It had to be what it was. And if and then I couldn't even believe it. Then I get a thing that they want you to hold for this movie in Nashville. And I just thought, like, that was that crazy audition where my laptop was bouncing all over because we were driving. It was crazy. So
I feel like that added that was like real novelty to the audition.
Yeah.
And I mean,
it could be.
What you're telling me, I understand from what you're telling me is that the landscape has completely changed. Now, the world of auditioning and movies and television, that's totally foreign to me. So
Sure.
in my mind, I pictured you going to a casting call, but
like
now,
in New York or LA, right?
Right.
but now you actually get to video yourself and submit
Yep.
that. That's
Yep.
really cool.
Because the thing that didn't stop during the pandemic was entertainment. I mean, everyone really was desperately hanging on to new shows. And actually, season 4 of Cobra Kai, we did shoot during the pandemic. I mean, that was shooting in 2020. So it was right after I had my son. So it was just really kind of heavy. We were all masked. Everyone was distanced. That's the other thing about film and TV that's so interesting is you can shoot people in a way, you can film people in a way that it looks like they're standing very close talking to each other, but we were actually none of us, and we'd all been tested for everything. And, they were really making sure that no one was coming in sick and trying to regulate as best they could. But people were desperately needing entertainment. They were needing new TV to come out, and that's what everybody was doing, or baking breads. I will self-tape for something, and then if I do get called back, which is really I've had 2 or 3 things recently that I do show up in person and I'm in front of the producers and directors when it's getting to the end and there's only a couple people that they're looking at. That's pretty common to be in person.
I bet the RV life helps with that flexibility. You can just go.
I
right?
love it. And even
Yeah.
the first time it happened, it was pretty quick. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to hop on a flight and I'll be back tomorrow. The second time it happened, we had a little bit more turnaround. And I did say, I want to pack up the RV. It's down in the South. We could see some friends in Nashville. Then we went to Mammoth Caves. Then I took my guy to the little Slugger Museum. We will turn something. It almost guides our adventure a little bit,
Yeah.
Sometimes it hijacks it, but there are times it makes us really, and I hope that this is what our little guy is picking up, is that it just makes us resilient and kind of like nothing's really a problem. It's always something that we just have to figure out how to tackle this new idea that's been presented to us, and we're going to figure it out. It might not be what we thought was coming, but we'll figure all this out. Even when the RV breaks, we will figure this out. We'll
Good
get this
mindset.
fixed.
Yes, I
Yeah.
like how you keep using the word resilient, because that's one thing that we learned on the road was resilience. Because like you said, everything breaks, everything changes. You don't find the boondocking spot that you wanted. So, for you to teach your son this at this age, it's permanent.
Priceless. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
permanent.
I hope so. I really hope so. Right now, it feels still that we're very new parents. So there's some times where I'm like, are we just messing all this up? But I think we would have that if we were in a house too,
Yeah.
And him seeing us juggling all this stuff. And I know he already is a very interesting little guy.
And he will continue to be so. Do you mind if we sort of pivot and look more at Doggy Do Good?
And your entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Yes.
You mentioned how that came about. You adopted the senior dog, but this is a really unique company, and you're using like totally compostable products to clean up something that is compost, basically. When I first read about it, I thought it was smaller than it is. And then I went online and I started to investigate and wow, this is really big.
You just don't know when something's going to catch fire. So we started this in 2015. And that was a time where people weren't really thinking about plastic and they weren't as conscious. There weren't paper straws and there weren't all this stuff, or even bans on plastic bags within grocery stores and things like that. So when those things started happening, people really began to understand that oh gosh, I'm using this plastic constantly to pick up after my dogs, and then it's going into landfills and we're just getting bigger and bigger. So the first product that we ever came out with it was a vegetable based compostable bag, and we had a zillion sizes that you could do. We even have a lot of we make an extra large bag, and that was perfect for people that did garden composting. We actually have some friends in Brooklyn that do it. But we got a lot of cats families as well, because they would scoop up from the litter into our extra large. And then we also ended up doing bamboo pet wipes, which I love, love, love and use on all of the humans, especially when we're in the RV. Sometimes you got to cut down on the water usage. So everybody's getting the, washcloth bath today, but they're great. So it's been awesome. And then we have a shampoo bar. And right now, actually, we are just launching a brand new product that I really believe will be the future of hopefully all of our plastic bags and all of our like I'm using this drinking out of, we all have we're surrounded by plastic. So we've just launched a landfill friendly bag that uses 60% recycled plastic. So we're trying to reuse up some of that plastic, and it has a pretty nerdy science aspect to it. It has a additive that's sprinkled within the plastic that breaks this down. It basically attracts microbes to decompose the plastic within 5 years inside of a landfill. So it's going to just decompose like any other dead item within those landfill confines. So that bag's called Next, but we're actually switching all of our bags over to that. And we've had a ton of interest to private label for some big we were running around yesterday because there was interest from like a pretty big pharmacy to try to get us to private label for them. It's awesome to work together with my husband. I think we make a great team, and to be doing something that I just think so much about having a 4-year-old. And my husband and I grew up on the Great Lakes, and I'm sure you guys appreciate and respect nature in where you are. And I want him to swim in the Great Lakes and not have it be filled with garbage. That's important to me. So if we're actively doing that as a company, and I think that just sets a good role model for him to understand that we're trying to fight pretty hard to keep Mother Nature as gorgeous as we experienced it, if not better. I mean, if we can do better, I think we should.
We can all do better, Cara.
Yeah. I mean, sure.
Such a large business like this, when you're on the road, who is running it for you? Do you have management in place? How many employees do you have?
It is my husband and I. We are running it. We've structured so that my husband full days, he takes 2 days a week where that's where all of his calls are. And then we have a handful of contractors that are actually close friends of ours that have come in because the business just became obviously outgrowing us a little bit and we needed help. And they've come in and been really, really great to assist us. But it's really just he and I at this point, which I was talking to him this morning. I mean, the thing that we do a pretty good job with is prioritizing what is the immediate need right in front of us. What business needs us right in this moment and who can address that? Because we have other businesses and we have a child and he's his own little business that we're always, somebody's got to be doing Legos or somebody's got to be, writing letters with him. And it gets imbalanced. That's the thing that it's just understanding. There was a couple days where my husband was needed so much for Doggy Do Good. And then I needed my own stuff. And then I was a little grumpy because I wasn't getting to address, like I'm going on this podcast and I have this interview coming out and like, you need to give me the time. Sometimes that's not always, as a husband-wife team, sometimes we just, it manifests in just getting grumpy. But on the whole, I think we've been doing it long enough that we understand like that grumpiness isn't me just being annoyed with you. It's actually because I need some space for my own stuff. And I've been doing a lot of just momming. And now I need to switch back into addressing my acting roles or whatever it is. But my husband actually is my reader in my audition, and he is not an actor. And he's become wonderful at just reading these sides for me and taping me. So he even gets a little out of his comfort zone to help make sure that aspect of my career is still moving forward. But again, it's easy to get out of balance, and especially when it's just the two of you.
For sure. But I love how you guys balance each other out and kind of work together. And you've got a lot of good values that also are running across your, your Doggy Do Good business. And then with, how you're traveling and your lifestyle, it's just, I think it blends really well. Don't you think?
Certainly seems to, yes.
You're growing a platform called the RV Actress, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
so what inspired you to kind of share your behind the scenes life with that?
This lifestyle is an adventure. It's so wild. It's kind of unhinged sometimes. There was a time when we were driving our first RV. So the first one we bought was a 25-foot Sprinter and had a full wall slide. It was the Villaggio, and it was made by Renegade. Beautiful. I loved it. But it was basically like a studio apartment. Oh, it was so wonderful. I still miss some things about that, but it was great for a couple and a baby and a dog.
Love Renegade.
Oh, I really do too. If we could, now we're in Tiffin Allegro Bay, Super C, 40
Just as
foot,
good.
and
Just
then
as good.
we flat tow our Blazer. We've always flat towed, but I remember when we had the little one, we were driving it down to Florida, and we stopped. We pulled over just to get gas in rural Florida, and it would not turn on again. And it was nighttime. I had a baby and a dog, and a thunderstorm was rolling in. So we tried to call AAA or whoever we called. They sent over Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It was the craziest thing. They just pulled in a Jeep to fix. We told them we have a truck that needs to be towed. These guys show up. I don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? I just thought, like, where are the cameras? Where is it? Because this is the craziest TV show I've ever seen. And it's only been kind of a continuation. And it's not all just disaster. So much of what we're doing, I think, is really just spectacular. And we don't get that just staying in one place. And a lot of what inspired me, I've only honestly been trying to share more in the last couple months. Maybe it's been like 6 months that I've been like, I need to really try to document what's going on. But we would meet so many people at RV parks and just share all the stuff that we're doing. And they couldn't believe it. They were just like, what's happening over there? Also, some of the time there's crazy audition things happening. Like, we were in Long Beach and I had booked this sci-fi web series, and the woman was like screaming and I was trying to practice it. And I just thought, like, I have to say something to the neighbors so they don't think, they'll never be able to look at my husband again, I'm sure they're concerned. I went to the office finally, and they had this like empty kitchen space in the office in the RV park. And I just explained, like, could I use that? Like, I'm going to be screaming. This is crazy. I don't want people to get upset, So it's always an adventure. And I think we're doing some fun and positive things. Like, that's what I really hope we can get a lot of, just documenting how we really try to just put good out into the world, no matter which direction we're going, no matter where we are, whether I'm working to be on a show or we're working on the pet company, like, just in the pursuit of good stuff is our agenda. And I want to share that with other people. I also want to build a community so that when we are traveling and we are at the pool or wherever we are, that people do feel like they know us and can be like, oh, I saw this thing that you're doing or whatever. I love having a community. And sometimes when you're on the road, you can get a little isolated. And sometimes when we're at repeated RV places, because we do like to stay in resorts, or I'm going to get us a little more off grid. That is my mission for this year, is to be more off grid. But I think because we are doing so much, we've just wanted that to be less wild a little bit and more like, oh, there's a restaurant up front that we could go to, and there's a pool that I could take my little guy to. And I'm not sure. I wonder if someone has shared a lot of, it's not always, national parks and boondocking. There are people who've built some really spectacular RV resorts that you can go to too. And that might be a fit for someone. It doesn't, people would always say, you guys must love camping. And we would look around like, I don't know that this is camping, but
Or
we just
glamping.
happen,
Yeah.
yeah, we just happen to be in an RV.
That's how we live.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what you're doing is great and it's working for you right now, and you'll evolve into
absolutely,
whatever else works in the future.
for
And we
sure,
could talk forever about all this. I love our conversation, but
for
we do
sure.
need to wrap up. So where can everyone find you and learn some more about you?
We are all over the internet, social media, Cara Ann Marie, on all the platforms, RV Actress. You can find me at Doggy Do Good, Doggy Do Gooder on all the social. But I actually just redid my website to kind of encompass everything. So that's cannmarie.com. If you just go to my website, I'll have a link to Doggy Do Good. I'll have a link to kind of what we're doing on the road and, staying in touch with what I'm acting in next or whatever's going on next with us. But I'm all over the
Awesome.
internet.
Awesome. We can't
Well,
wait to
thank
keep
you, guys.
following your
I really
journey.
we'll have to do a part 2 and 3 because I could definitely keep talking to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. This has been fun.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for
Yes.
joining us today.
Thank you
All
guys
right,
for
Cara.
having me. Be well.
Oh, I love how Cara makes her creative life work so well. She auditions, she's a mom, and she runs a pet industry business all from the road. Pretty impressive.
And you just gotta love Doggy Do Good. That eco-friendly business of hers is proof that it's possible to turn your passion project into a paying business, even on the road.
All right, now let's hear about a topic that impacts every RVer, electrical safety.
Oh, speaking of which, remember that time you smelled smoke when we turned on the AC as we were about to leave our dog Wyatt all alone in the rig? It could have caught fire.
Stop! We don't say the F word in the RV.
Finally, Bob sits down with RV electrical expert Mike Sokol to explain a major upcoming industry change that could affect how every RV connects to power.
All right, welcome back to the new RV Life podcast, everybody. And my guest tonight is Mike Sokol, who is the #1 expert on RV electricity in the RV industry. Does that sound important, Mike?
It sounds really important to me. It is a heavy mantle to bear, let me tell you.
Well, there's been lots of times we don't get a chance to report on news until it's already news or it's a tight deadline. But in this case, you've been kind enough to share with the community and with the industry your expertise relative to GMIs, which are grounding monitor interrupters. Why don't you give us a little overview of that just to start off with?
Well, I've been working on this for several years, and this also is part of my project for the last 15 years of safety for the RV industry. So I happen to know a lot about it from the people that are actually doing it. This is not hearsay. I talk to the guys that are writing the code. So grounding monitor interrupter, its main job is to help keep RV owners safe from shock. And it does it a little bit differently from a couple of the other ways they tried to do it. It's not really a GFCI, which kind of works after the fact, after you're getting shocked to try to disconnect you before it kills you. That's how a GFCI works. This is a proactive unit. The three basic things are it's a grounding thing, got its first name, the G in it,
Yep.
And it's worried about your RV being properly grounded. The second part is the monitor. So it is constantly looking to make sure it is grounded continuously. It's not like it checks it when you first plug in. It does it all the time.
No matter when no matter when and where you plug in.
No matter when it happens, right?
Yeah.
And then the interrupter part is if it doesn't like something in the ground of the RV, which could potentially allow you to be shocked, it will interrupt. It will disconnect your RV from the shore power completely. That's the grounding monitor interrupter.
That's very understandable. So there's two components to it, one being the RV, one being the campground. So what do we have to look forward to from the RV manufacturers?
Well, the RV manufacturers are not actually building the box. The big companies that make the advanced surge protectors are building these. And it's a box that will be then installed in new RVs sometime late 2026. We're not sure the exact date yet, but it's going to be third quarter around that there or so.
So So it's a supplier provided product.
A supplier is going to provide it. And I know of at least 4 or 5 different suppliers that are working on these.
Okay.
And again, you can just go down the usual suspects, that anyone that makes these advanced surge protectors.
Okay.
And the RV manufacturers, the builders, will be adding those in, and it basically hooks into where the shore power goes into your RV. And then it goes back and talks to the pedestal and says, pedestal, are you giving me good ground? So that's the thing. The RV manufacturers are just installing this, literally a black box that will go confirm that the grounding is okay from shore power.
Now, the manufacturers lots of times won't do something that is not required, but this is required by an industry standard, correct?
It is, in fact. This is part of the latest, NEC, the National Electrical Code, states that in 551, I believe it's 551.40, that all RVs, new RVs that are manufactured, will have this grounding monitor interrupter, and it must comply. They say it must be listed, which means it must comply with something that's called UL 2299. So the specs are written there. We know it's going to have to be installed in new RVs sometime late 2026. There is nothing that says it has to be installed retrofit, although there will be units eventually that you can retrofit if you want it.
For the aftermarket.
Aftermarket stuff, right. But right now they're struggling just to get enough units for the, how many RVs do they make? Do they build a year? 500,000?
About 300. Now we're back to about 300,000, but it's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
And this would be everything from a pop-up to a $3 million bus, right?
Anything that has a 30 or 50 amp connector. Now, if it had a 20 amp, which is very, very rare nowadays, it's not required on the 20 amp connectors. But if it has a 30 or a 50 amp shore power cord, it's required.
I don't know anybody that's doing 20 amp at this point in time.
I know a couple little people that have built their little retro stuff, but again, that's not brand new one. I have never encountered a new RV that's 20 amp.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. Talk about the campground side of the equation.
Well, the campground side means you've got to make sure that your pedestals are properly wired and properly grounded. Now, you don't install a box in there, but if somebody pulls in with a GMI equipped RV, doesn't matter what it is, and plugs into that pedestal, if your pedestal is not properly maintained and wired, they will get no power. And there's no workaround. I mean, there's no disconnect. So that means campground pedestals are going to have to be tested in advance of this. The last thing you want is a bunch of people showing up on a big weekend and they can't get power for their RVs. So I think we need to start this winter testing them.
Very interesting. So, and you're going to be developing some of the testing modules, correct?
Right. I'm developing a test protocol, what we will call an SOP, standard operating procedure, and also working on a couple of ways that'll be simple for campgrounds to begin testing these. But also we're working on how to train RV technicians or mobile technicians how to actually maintain pedestals, because there's a lot of them out there that are just really worn out. They're going to have to be fixed or replaced.
Okay, so again, just to recap, we're talking about something that's going to take place for the RV manufacturers late 2026 with full implementation both on the manufacturing and the campground stuff coming into 2027. So there's plenty of time for the industry to address it. There's plenty of time to get education out to the consumers.
That is true. But one of the real bad parts is there's an awful lot of AI written stuff or creative stuff, and it's just plain wrong. I look at it and I start laughing about how incorrect the AI generated press releases have been. Wikipedia stuff is wrong. Everything's wrong. I know how it works because I have these guys on speed dial that are writing the code for it.
Yeah, that is an issue, with all the incorrect information that we see out there about AI. So how do we combat that? To give you the last 30 seconds here.
If you go to my website, my new site, it's rvelectricity.com. I've got sections on there that I'm creating that are all about this. If you've got questions about this thing, you want to know more about it, email me directly, Mike at rvelectricity.com. and put in GMI in the subject, and I'll get back to you.
Go directly to RVelectricity.com.
Or go to RVelectricity.com. Yep. I've got sections on there. That's my news site. I've just transferred 1,000 articles over to in the last month. So I write a lot.
All right. You are the number one electricity guy in the RV industry. Mike, thanks very much for joining us on one of our initial broadcasts.
Bob, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, thanks, Bob. That's so important for RVers and campground owners alike. All these new safety standards are coming in 2026, and Mike's got the full scoop at RVelectricity.com.
You'll find all the links in the show notes, along with today's travel, lifestyle, and income resources.
And remember, the RV Life podcast is powered by your stories.
That's right. This is a community effort, folks. So share your RVing tips and campfire stories for our RVer Insights segment. Just visit podcast.rvlife.com/contact and record a short message.
We may feature you in a future episode.
Next week, we've got more stories and expert advice to help you live your best RV life.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe and rate the RV Life podcast wherever you listen. Your ratings are what helps us get found so that we can keep bringing you all the best info in the RVing universe.
Until next time,
Quartzsite an experience.
Bid farewell to the stress of travel planning with RV Life Trip Wizard. This feature allows you to customize your routes, avoid potential hazards, and even discover the best campgrounds based on real user reviews. It's not just about reaching your destination. It's about enjoying the journey. And with RV Life Trip Wizard, every journey is effortless. Learn more about this game-changing feature at RVlife.com.